Everyone, please be seated. I will now request our principal, Professor Meera Maligaonkar, to come on stage and felicitate Rajiv Mishra sir.
Good afternoon, esteemed guests, and welcome to our panel discussions on pedagogy in architecture and urban planning. Today we have the privilege of hosting a distinguished group of experts who will share their insights and experiences in academia and research. Allow me to introduce Dr. Rajiv Mishra, who is an architect and urban planner based in Mumbai. Since 2008, he has been appointed as principal of Sir J.J. College of Architecture at University of Mumbai. Additionally, since 2015, he has been appointed by state government as Director and Directorate of Art Government of Maharashtra. He has taught for 27 years and has been involved in conducting seminars and workshops on subjects of architecture design, city planning, history and theory of architecture, as well as on the development of urban management at Sir J.J. College of Architecture. His special interests and issues dealing with sustainable urbanism, community architecture, heritage conservation and technology in building management, classical arts and education of architects and planners in a changing society. He has been exploring this field extensively through various research studies, trying to bridge the gap between education and practice. We also have the esteemed presence of Dr. Krishna Kumar Dute, who is a professor in architecture and planning at Maulana Azad National Institute of Technology, Bhopal. Graduated in architecture, master's in planning, and his doctoral thesis was on urban renewal. His area of interest in research and urban renewal and redevelopment, social implications of large-scale interventions for urban poor, environmental improvement of slums and inclusive urban planners. His recent research project was documenting the sustainable practices of tribals.
We have Jayashree Deshpande, an accomplished architect, sociologist and educator from Pune, India, boasts a stellar academic record with top honors in architecture and master's degree in sociology from the University of Pune. With over 3 decades of teaching experience, she has mentored numerous students at both undergraduate and postgraduate levels in architecture. She has made significant contributions to the field through presentations at national and international conferences, peer-reviewed publications covering various topics like architectural education, urban sociology and sustainable technology, as well as involvement in research projects focusing on integrating sustainability into built environment courses. She has held key positions at the University of Pune and has been associated with multiple universities in advisory roles. Recognized by professional bodies, she has instrumental in advancing architecture education, earning accolades for her contributions. Currently, as the Director of Academic Unit of the Council of Architecture in Pune, she oversees training and education programs, publications, awards and research initiatives for architects and educators in the field. have a moderator for today's discussion, Dr. Navneet Munot. He is an architect and urban planner currently engaged in academia at the Maulana Azad National Institute of Technology, Bhopal, an institute of national importance established by the Government of India. Dr. Munot pursued his bachelor's in architecture from the National Institute of Technology, Hamirpur, and subsequent post-graduations as well as doctorate from the IIT Rizvi. His doctoral research was in the domain of urban planning and management. Can I please request all the guests to be on the stage?
I also request Professor Abhay Purohit to join us on the stage for the discussion. Thank you. Before we begin with the discussion, I would like Professor Meera ma'am to come on stage for the felicitation.
Namaskar. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Say yes loudly. Yes. Because all panelist members are here for you guys only. They know everything. So we are going to start our panel discussion over here. So it would be better for you guys if you have any question, any doubt, ask directly. don't hesitate. We are your teachers only. So you can ask your query. And right now, we are starting our pedagogy session with Rajiv sir. But before sir, I need your permission to give a brief about the session. So can I, thank you sir. So, my esteemed colleague, distinguished guests and passionate students like you of architecture and design, it is both an honor and privilege to welcome you to this insightful panel discussion on the theme of pedagogy, part of the Architecture and People International Conference titled Reflection of Future. Today, we stand at a critical juncture in the evolution of architecture, education. Our theme draws attention to a significant transition from the era of master craftsmen to the modern technical school initiated in 1850s, a change that marked the beginning of contemporary architectural education. The shift through profound brings us to a contemplative moment on how colonial practice sidestepped traditional knowledge system, creating a divergence that still impact our pedagogical approaches. As we dwell into today's discussion, we are reminded of the continuous need to reinvent and rethink how we approach the discipline of architecture and urban studies. The dynamism of our context, that is social, environmental, and technological, demands that we embrace a process of learning and unlearning. It requires us to be agile, to adapt to newer forms and narratives of architecture pedagogy, and to integrate interdisciplinary approaches, acknowledging that architecture cannot exist in isolation. Our esteemed panelists today are academicians who have not only contributed significantly to the field of, but also have been the forefront of navigating these shifts in pedagogy. Their insight will undoubtedly enrich our understanding and stimulate through provoking dialogues. Let us embark on this journey of reflection and exploration, aiming to form a path that respects our rich heritage while embracing the challenges and opportunities of the future. For the context of initiating a profound discussion on architectural pedagogy, focusing on the integration of traditional wisdom and contemporary practice and the importance of learning and unlearning, a relevant Sanskrit shlok that you might have heard about. This shlok embodied the spirit of wisdom, knowledge, and the eternal process of learning is from the Isha Upanishad, that is Asto ma sadgame, tamso ma jyotirgame, mrityo ma amritam game. Lead me from unreal to real. Lead me from darkness to light. Lead me from death to immortality. The shlok encapsulates the essence of moving from ignorance to acknowledge, from the shadow of past methodology to the illumination of innovative approaches, and from the transient to the timeless principle of architecture and design. I believe that this now set a tone of introspection, learning, and pursuit of wisdom, aligning perfectly with the theme of our panel discussion on rethinking architecture pedagogy. With this, I would like to ask my first question from Professor Rajiv Mishra, that is more related or regarding the technological advancement. So, sir, my question is, with the rapid pace of technological advancement, what strategies can be implemented within architecture education to ensure students are not only proficient in current technology but also adapting to future innovation.
Am I audible? Yes. Is it working? So thank you for the question. I was going to talk on it. Quite relevant of the time. But before I answer your question, I would like to thank Rizvi College of Architecture, who has decided to conduct this session. I also thank young teachers who are here from Rizvi College. Tanya, Aizaz, Usma, Saili, Shabir, very happy to see you. But I think you are going to decide the future of the architecture education in this college. And I think you need to take an initiative. So thank you, Meera, for calling me here. I think before we talk about the current situation of learning in architecture, you should know how it all started and how it was. The first method was basically Manan. You have to read about architecture, draw about architecture, and learn, which is difficult. Over a period of time, it takes long time. Second method after Manan is Anusaran. You follow a great architect. You follow Karvinde, you follow Charles Correa, you follow Uttam Jain, and you learn architecture. Because after doing architecture, you start learning. That is Anusaran. Manan, Anusaran. The third is Anubhav, experience. जो कड़वा होता है actually. लेकिन you have to understand that after Manan, Anusaran and Anubhav, today you have got a unique feature of learning any subject. So after the coming in of AR, VR, UI, UX and other technological tools, I would like all of you to know that when we did architecture, when Honorable President, me and Meera and Zote sir, there was no AutoCAD. We never used a digital technology to do drawings. And therefore we were very particular about every line that we drew on the paper for the fear that we might have to do it again. So I think the sense of responsibility of drawing and the discipline of drawing was very strong. Today, I think people have lost that discipline. So I think first thing I would like to say today, in spite of the modern ways of learning, is when you are in first year and second year, please do not neglect your discipline of drawing. Please become very good at the skill of drawing because it is going to help you for the entire life as an architect. Any lawyer who can draw is a better lawyer. Any doctor who can draw is a better doctor. So any architect who can draw is a better architect. Clear? No problem in understanding that. But with the AR, VR and artificial intelligence coming in and chat GPT, I think you all know about it. A lot of students think that they can basically think or leave thinking to these tools. And there is where the danger starts. I was just trying to talk to some of our expert panelists. They said that now if you are asked to prepare a PowerPoint presentation on the subject of the expertise that your teacher is teaching, a lot of students that I have taught have asked artificial intelligence to prepare that PowerPoint and presented it. But when we asked questions in the classroom, they said that I will have to check with artificial intelligence which created this PowerPoint. I think as far as learning is concerned, please do not follow slave to the new technology. Use your brain in a sensible way because your brain is trained to think. So design thinking is something that we should not neglect. But the future of architectural education is the pedagogy that we are discussing today. It's going to be so important that no matter how you learn or how we teach you to learn as teachers, it is what you end up learning. I think this is very important. No matter what pedagogy we come out with, how easy will it become for you to end up learning is the skill that you will have to develop. How it is important to know the difference between skill, education, which is basically preparing you to face anything, and second is talent. I think you understand that talent is being able to do something which nobody else can do, as fast as you can, then you are talented. But others can see that you are talented. But now architecture education is trying to make you realize that you can become a genius. Genius being that you know how to do things but not letting anybody else know how you did it. So I think for me what is very important today is no matter who teaches you what, nobody can stop you from becoming the greatest architect on earth if you decide to learn. That's the first thing you have to understand. Second thing is, we are in the profession where learning happens by doing. So when we do a studio project with you, you are actually creating a learning. You are actually doing research. While you are designing an airport, while you are designing a hospital, you are actually doing a research with respect to the context of the site. And you are creating knowledge by doing your academic exercise. So we are actually learning to create knowledge. So our pedagogy is basically looking for spark in every student, which we want to become fire. So we just have to realize that spark and not let it extinguish. So I think the new pedagogy is to identify that spark. And I think the ability to recognize the ability of that spark is the key to pedagogy today in architecture. And therefore architecture education might develop leaps and bounds. But we have been trying to see how we can make better teachers. How is it that we can instill interest in teachers to instill interest in students so that they end up learning architecture themselves. You cannot force anybody to learn a subject if you are not. I think we in pedagogy should use tools, use AR, VR, use ChatGPT, use artificial intelligence to create a desire to learn so that you can use the tool and be a smart learner. I think that being smart is always considered. So this is what I feel that we should pay attention to, and I am very happy that to tell you that the Council of Architecture is doing a lot of work through its training center. I am so glad that you are able to hear Professor Abhay Purohit and Professor Jayshree here today, and I think you should make the most of their presence here in terms of your library performance and library documentation. I saw the book given to me by Meera, but I think your library is the temple of learning. And I guess Council of Architecture is now thinking of connecting libraries of architecture colleges around the country so that we can learn from each other. Now there is no question of being competitive, we have to be collaborative. Unless you are collaborative, your learning won't speed up and you will not enjoy learning. Okay? So the last thing I want to say is, if you are not enjoying learning, then something is wrong with you. You should find out why is it that I am not enjoying learning. You should go to your teacher and say, I am not able to appreciate, I am not able to enjoy. What is it that we are learning? Why is it that we are learning? What is it that we will become after we learn this and how will it benefit? So you must ask, what is in it for me? Yes. But after finding out what is in it for you, you should work hard to go ahead. Otherwise, nobody can go ahead for you. You can't get a lift to go ahead to the point. And then when you are marooned, when you are left alone, then you don't know where to go. Yeah? So, Manan, Anusaran, Anubhav, latest technologies, reading, very essential, very important. Which books to read is also very important. And I guess, if we are not using artificial intelligence, someone else will use artificial intelligence and you will be enslaved by a person who is using it. So I am not saying don't use the latest technology, use it for the betterment of learning or architecture. Thank you.
Very well said. So after this, I can say, sir has really well described and pointed out two things which I can understand. If you might have seen that movie, in that there is a song, "Aadmi soch to le uska irada kya hai." Then another thing is Sanskrit shlok, "Karat karat abhyas se jadmati ho sujan, avat javat." So now we are enough fortunate that we are having council president with us. So I am coming to him, sir. It would be better if you can add more things what council is doing for our architecture students and faculty members.
this question is a quite inquisitive question. What council is doing? It was like, वो जब वहाँ पे होता तब आप कहाँ पे थे? जाओ उस आदमी को ढूंढ के लेकर आओ जिसने मेरे हाथ पे See, I would try to summarize. So I'm not going to give a sort of a speech on what was the role and the responsibilities of Council of Architecture and not that. I'm trying to link it with the discussion which is going on, and whereupon we are talking about change which is happening around. The entire system is at the crossroads. It's not only about architecture. I think it is about the world which is at the crossroads because of certain things which are happening around. And we have to analyze that what are those certain things which are happening around. That is very, very critical. On one side, as such, we are looking at the technology, and I call it as a, prefer to call it the disruptive technology which is coming in, which of course includes the AI, which includes the 3D machines, which includes the CNC machines, which includes Internet of the Things. It starts talking about the drone technology, it starts talking about how are we documenting, it talks about UI, UX. This is one part of it. A whole different technology is coming in, and of course when it comes to architecture, probably we are also talking about a metaverse at some point of time, and we are also talking about ChatGPT. I think midway is something which is being also used in a very, very major way. Well, this is one scenario, but there is another scenario which is happening around. Everyone is talking about sustainability, everyone is talking about the WHO goals. Everyone knows that Earth would remain there, but we would go off if we don't take proper care. And thereby, in any and every field, sensible utilization of the resources become a prime consideration. That is what you call it green, you call it whatever you want to call it. It is very, very sensible way of using the resources. Now, third scenario, please look at as to what is happening and what is happening to the institutions over time span. And we have experienced pandemic, and we know that at that point of time as such, we started teaching the students online. We were not totally equipped for it, but we started doing that. And many times certain good things happen. So that is one thing which we have started understanding, and now I think we have expertise into that. It has also changed the entire perspective. Today we prefer the meetings which are basically online meetings. If the meetings are meant for some very specific time span. And I am referring to pandemic for the simple reason that there were two ways of dealing online. One was just through a video conferencing, but more sort of a resolved institutions, they established their own LMS systems, learning management systems. And the advantage with the learning management systems was that, like the talks and the discourses could be recorded, pre-recorded, and could be put up, and then the discussion panels could start operating. We have gone further more now. Now we understand that is there, and if you look at the national education policy very, very critically, I said you would find out, and I'm not talking about architecture. National education policy is talking about up to 30%, 25 to 30% of your teaching learning process could happen online mode, whereupon a teacher may not be present there. So you go into a sort of a self-learning mode. Good. You all are good cooks. You all sometimes are good plumbers. You all are sometimes the filmmakers. You all are sometimes the gardeners. You are into agriculture. Simultaneously you are capable of doing that. Basically because there is something which is known as a YouTube, and on YouTube as such you have a lot of how to do sort of the things available, and that is capable of increasing your confidence, and actually that is capable of also giving you a lot of freedom to learn sitting into your four walls. So it is from the entertainment, it is getting seriously converted into basically a learning mode. So there is no, and I was talking about it, I said there is no need of a teacher. So as a teacher, if I am an average teacher as such, then actually I am doing an injustice with my students, because there could be some further good teacher available. So why not that thousands of the students are capable of learning from a same teacher as such, and other teachers also who are teaching should also be capable of learning. And this kind of a possibility happens. Second thing which you have to understand is that the definition of the institutions, like the four walls of the institution, such kind of a space standard, such kind of a thing, etc., also is going to become absolute. You could be capable of learning at your own space. That is the advantage. So these all are the sort of the changes. So universities may be the virtual universities in the days to come. And how many days am I anticipating? I am anticipating a flat span of 15 years. It's going to happen as fast as that. We are talking about another thing which is happening around is that ये जो पूरा एक linear learning जो process है वो पूरा खत्म होने वाला है. It's going to be ending soon. Students will be capable of finding out their own path. If we talk about architecture as such, architecture is not a very easy thing to learn for a simple reason that there are so many of the different ways and the approaches, because this is a branch which deals with the philosophy.
So sorry to interrupt you. Can I take your permission? So actually, Raju Mishra sir has some other commitments. So I was just coming to that question only, which you are going to explain. So I want to ask that question from Mishra sir. Sir, so very recently, as Professor is saying, the government of India has implemented the new education policy.
National education policy.
National education policy. So how can you say, or how can our student can understand that is beneficial for
very nice, very good question. See, the teaching of architecture had understood national education policies right from when it started. In fact, they are following Council of Architecture, norms of architectural education pedagogy. Architecture institutions, right from the beginning, have been amalgamating the subject of art, design, technology, engineering in architecture. And I think it has opened up some corner of the mind in the educationists who have been talking about it, or it is basically ringing some bell in their mind that they are better at doing understanding of amalgamation of subject. In fact, the government of India has agreed recently to the policy of the Council of Architecture by allowing existing architecture institutions to open other institutions of allied subjects related to it. The concept of internship, which is already happening in architecture institution, has been actually adapted and adopted by them in engineering colleges. So I think national education policy, the other is, thank you sir, the other is the professor design chair is now professor of practice in terms of other engineering colleges, because they realized, they can call practicing architect to teach in architecture colleges, call it design chair, so let us call it professor of practice. UGC also blindly adopted it and said, yes, this works for us. So I first want to tell you that what we as Council of Architecture have been trying to do through minimum standards of architecture education is actually already following the national education policy. People have just got to know that this is how it should be done. So the second thing is, anybody who is good at art is good at skill. Anybody who is good at design, thinking, is good at application of technology, application of all these softwares to enhance their thinking. So art is skill-based, design is application of skill through technology and all the domains of knowledge. Architecture is adding engineering to it, it is adding sciences to it, it is adding sociology to it, it is adding user requirements to it. So architecture has been playing a major role when it comes to national education. Now with the national education policy being implemented, I think it will become very nice for architecture students to do a small credit course or an additional credit course that are beneficial for him to become a better architect. And I think national education policy is a good thing to happen. It has opened up the minds, it has made it more diverse. And what Sir has just said, you could take up any course for credit, either from IITs or NITs or any institute of international importance. Add to your credit towards earning your degree. There will be institutions without boundaries. There will be virtual universities. And now you don't need to be bound. It doesn't matter where you are, whether you are at Rizvi College, whether you are at Hire College, whether you are at Kamaraja College. As long as you are connected through this place of learning, this cloud place of learning, I think you are doing good. You can actually do a studio, interactive studio session with a studio in Harvard School of Design or at UCLA. And we have done once and it has worked very well, sir. We did one with Columbia University. We did one studio. I'll just give you an example of how it works. And this is what national education policy will help us do. We can actually start a 2-year master's program, sir. We can do 1-year master's program in Columbia University, 1-year master's program in India, and give a dual degree. And some of the classes can happen online. The last time we did a collaborative studio was with Columbia University, where we took up New York City, it's an urban design, urban planning issue, with Bombay City. Both are commercial capitals of their country, both are port towns, both are the most progressive and prosperous cities in their countries, and therefore the development of densities in New York and development of density in Bombay was a crucial part of the study. They had their central park, we had our Shivaji Park and Azad Maidans. But the idea of study was they ended up learning about Bombay and our students ended up learning about New York. So this is called collaborative studio, and earlier we could not give credit, but sir, now with national education policy, the Columbia University credit will basically help students. And this collaborative studio is good. So I think the national education policy is a great tool and actually a great tool for us to enhance the productivity of our students and make them more diverse towards learning. Thank you.
So we can take this opportunity, and because our Professor Meela Gaonkar is sitting with us, and all on behalf of our students of Rizvi College of Architecture, they want to know which initiatives you have taken.
Sir, I have questions for Abhay sir, because
Please.
I have a question because this is the question which is asked by Mumbai University BOS.
Okay.
And they are asking that when COA is going to implement the NEP, what is the time frame for architectural development and what is the final scheme? That will include, if NEP is there, what is the time frame? What will be the criteria for selection of the teachers? Course?
I will come up with a story. It's always better, to understand the things, the stories, and this you can actually also communicate to Mumbai University. Because I think across India, as such, people are interested to know what is happening around. So what happened is that one day, very rapidly, because it doesn't have much of a time. So one day, what happened is that my very respected uncle came to my house. He's elder, he's respected. Whatever he would say would be followed because of his wisdom. So he comes, he sits in my living hall and he says that everything happens. He says, now what has to be done is that I want that this wall of your living should be demolished. Uncle is knowledgeable. Uncle has said this. We have to do it. But my wife is uncomfortable. Absolutely. My kids, they are further more uncomfortable. So once night happens, my kids would come to my bedroom, say, Baba, we want to talk. So what happened? No, uncle, grandfather has told that the wall of our living hall has to be demolished. I said, yeah, he has said that, I have heard. They said that, and you would be listening to him. We are sure because you have not disobeyed him up till now. Yeah, not done it. But there was no reason. My wife also says that, but then what is going to happen like? So I said, yes, I would ask and try to figure out that what is the logic in uncle's telling me to demolish the wall. So presently what is happening is that we have almost come to a stage whereupon we have almost resolved that what uncle wants to have. And they are understanding that what it means is that we are capable of, removing that wall, and we are capable of, adding some more space to it, and that space could have some more possibilities, and that is finally going to be advantageous to my kids. This is now understood. But now there are some other things which would come. Because the building bylaws are such that immediate demolition would be disastrous. Architects Act presently talks about 5 years of a program through which only we can register the people as architects. So we are on to that. We are in the advanced stage of understanding what is happening around us, and the possibility is that we will be soon coming up with the initial stages, baby steps we have already taken, because this is a 360 degrees approach. So as Mishra sir has indicated, we are in a synergy with UGC, we are in a synergy with AICT. Yesterday the first step, visible step has come in forefront, whereupon AICT has considered architectural institutions approved by Council of Architecture as the existing institutions. And they are willing to now provide, based on our discussions, art architecture, art design planning, which comes under AICT as a part of it. I have also put up a series of requests to UGC, whereupon the architectural institutions should become autonomous. The norms, if you check, as such, the norms are very, very problematic at this stage. So I have requested them that this is the part, this is the clause, you take it out, you add this, so that architectural institutions will be capable of progressing. Now there is a third thing which you have to understand, is that if it is going to be it has to be a 5 years program, it means that it would be possibly 4 years Bachelor of Architecture with 5 years integrated masters. So we are talking about multiple entries, we are talking about multiple exits. As such, we are talking about inclusiveness to come into it. It should not be exclusive, but it has to be inclusive. That is what the entire area of MEP is. Anyone should be capable of moving from one area to another area, depending upon a choice. So we would not be capable of restricting our students to only follow architecture right from first year to final year. That may not happen. What may be happening, and also that we may not tell others who have intent to come to architecture, saying that no, you cannot because you have not done your first year and second year and third year. This is a complex thing. You require a lot of care to come. Students, transfer of credits, some additional credits need to be acquired. Students may not be proficient into certain areas. Maybe, for example, they may not be knowing physics, they may not be knowing chemistry, but that is a part which is required of mathematics. But they want to come to architecture just because they never had it. So it's only one. And maybe a guy who has done his actually BSc wants to enter now into a second year. He says that these are the credits which I have acquired. You tell me. I want to pursue architecture now. System needs to be worked out, a flexible system, more human-centric system. Also, in addition to that, a very great thing which is going to happen is that a student of architecture also will be capable of moving. They are the trap source. You know that. They do not have any other way but to just go straight. Then they come in the final year, they say, architecture नहीं करने वाला हूँ मैं. मैंने decide किया मैंने builder बनना है. होता है. So many architects who are into different areas, working. Architects, because they are jack of all. And this is beautifully explained to me by my friend, my elder brother, chairman AICT. When I went to meet him, he says, your branch is fantastic branch. So I said, what has happened, sir? He said, no, I want to, bring certain changes, get inspiration from architecture. This is his words. I asked him, I would quote you on official records. Be careful. He said, no, you do it, you can always do that. He said that the architects have been trained in a 360 degrees. They understand the innovation, they understand the design, and this design thinking needs to be taken at every level. He says that the architectural institution should come up with a design thinking program which will be compulsory for all the branches. Look at that. We have a tremendous potential. This is what is the future. So you may be getting, along with the elective subjects, we are introducing so many of the electives. We have the regional sort of the ways. There are the guys who will be interested in Indian knowledge systems in a big way. They may require a bit more time to understand that. There will be people who want to understand basically sustainability in a bigger way. There will be people who want to understand technology in a bigger way. And everything would not be possible in the span of 5 years. So they will be capable of focusing on something and leaving something. That whatever has been left assets, they may again pick up because they are capable of coming back to schools and earn that kind of knowledge in the systems. We are going to have that kind of systems happening around. You would be having in the days to come Bachelor of Architecture with minors in such and such. That minor could be also management. That minor could also be in terms of the big data management. That minor could be also UI UX, and you name about it as such. The institutions would have freedom to introduce the programs based on their skill set. This is a tremendous opportunity.
Thank you, sir.
Teachers' norms, you want to know teachers' norms? Students would not be interested in teachers' norms. But yes, I will just give you a hint. Because there are these multiple entries and multiple exits, so that essentially means that it would not be based on the intake. It would not be based on the intake. That is important for him. He is establishing a university. Okay, please. Sir.
Thank you, sir, for your wonderful insight. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So you have a very, very bright future. Now you may have a question कि अब हम तो यहाँ पे बैठे हैं, फिर हमारा क्या होगा? हम तो already 16 में है ना, so आप हमको क्यों सुना रहे हो? जो नए बच्चे आएंगे उनको होगा, तो हमको तो मिलने वाला नहीं है. Don't worry about that part, because basically the entire system is going to be such whereupon you will be capable of acquiring the credits on your own. Even after you complete your graduation, the credits will be coming your way. And based on those credits as such, you may be in position to say that now these are the credits I have completed. So this comes at the level of masters. This comes at the level of diploma. That is how the things are going to happen.
Thank you, sir, for providing all kind of information. So now, my next question is from Professor Rizvi. Everywhere, we are talking about the interdisciplinary approaches. So now my question is related to this. Considering the importance of interdisciplinary approaches in addressing complex urban and architectural challenges, how can curriculum be designed to foster collaboration across disciplines effectively?
Thank you, sir. A big question, but I think the answer is simple because most of us are already into this in a certain way or the other. We talk about interdisciplinary. If you consider your curriculum, you will find, or rather we observed that when we were studying, we were told that design is the main subject. Teachers of design would look down upon teachers of construction and services and say, design is the big thing. Now, if you look at the process of design, a lot of the training that goes into the design studio is about finding form and developing the function and looking at materials, maybe aesthetics, making it iconic and things like that. One thing that I feel gets missed out quite often is the user. We tend to forget that we are designing for somebody who's going to be using that entity for the rest of his life or for a major portion of the life. We also tend to forget that the structures that we are teaching our students to create are going to be there even after we ourselves are not there. So our responses in the design studio or our teaching processes in the design studio must look at what are the needs of the user. And this is where I think that we have to give that importance to the individual, to the human being together with his pets and other animals and so many other people. Now, coming to the question of interdisciplinary, if you look at what a human being is expecting or wants to live a happy life, and I'm saying happy because happiness is something which gives you fulfillment. You may be comfortable living somewhere, you may have all amenities, but if you're not happy living there, what is it that you achieve? This happiness comes from understanding the inner requirement of your user, and that comes only by interaction. I must appreciate one little initiative that has been done by the Rizvi school. I had gone upstairs a couple of hours ago, and there is a very nice documentation of the different kinds of dwellings in a certain place, Palehalli or somewhere, second year students. They've done a beautiful job. They've looked at residences of so many different kinds of people in that settlement, and they have documented. Now my next question came is that, so what do you do with this documentation? So they said, okay, we might publish it. Fair enough. What is it that we learn out of doing this activity? They have shown auntie's residence, so and so person's residence means that each residence is allocated to an individual, and that individual would have spent time, energy and involvement with the students to be able to give them that kind of a response. I think it is our responsibility to go back to these people and show them what we have done. Somebody there told me that the next design project will be located in that settlement. I would suggest that we follow a system where we are going to be learning from the user. So you collaborate with the user. You go and understand what is it that they want. And if you follow the process of co-creation, meaning you jointly create something with the user feels it belongs to them. The pandemic, I think, woke us up to so many different situations where at one point of time, everybody, so many of our workers and so many people who were living in the urban areas started going back to their homes. The reason was that they did not feel that there was a sense of belonging. That sense of belonging comes when you are involved in creating the space which you are occupying. Sometime in 1968, Henry Lefebvre came up with this cry of right to the city. The whole crux of life, right to the city, is that the people who live in the city must be involved in creating the spaces of the city. They must be involved in decision making. Again, coming to the question of interdisciplinarity, do our students or do our teachers encourage learning from other disciplines? Do we try to find out what is it that a worker requires? What is it that we can give to them? And second, do we as architects involved in policy making? Are we equipping ourselves with the know-how to go and sit in places where we can dictate policy matters? Not as a top person in the profession, but every little individual, every student, every teacher should develop that capacity, and that comes through interaction with so many different disciplines. Interact with policymakers, interact with different communities, interact with so many different professions that are there, and we call them allied professions. They're all part of our discipline. So interaction becomes something which is very important. And that comes, fortunately, technology is serving as a boon. Because like we had a professor who came and spoke about the London situation during the pandemic and after the pandemic. So the technology allows you to learn from all over the globe, across the world. Use it to the best and do collaborative projects. Here I would like to also share with you one incident. Many years ago, this was maybe in 2010 or 12, we started running a course called the Faculty Development Program. This was meant for the young teachers who had less than 5 years of teaching experience. Now, one teacher was so kind of impressed by what he was being taught in that course, that he said, okay, let me take it to my students. And fortunately for him, he was based in Kerala, and fortunately for him, the Kerala government offered him an opportunity to collaborate with a school in the UK. And at that time, in 2010, when technology was not so well developed and we were not into online teaching, etc., they set up a studio where the students of the UK school were asked to design in India, and the Indian students were asked to design on a plot in UK without going there, because it was not possible for kids to go. So how did they learn the content? How did they understand the nuances of the climate? How did they understand the requirement? This happened through interaction with the students. So there was one-to-one, one Indian student, one UK student put together as a team, and that student taught our student to design there and vice versa. I must say that the project that emerged out of this collaborative learning was so good that it was exhibited in a number of places in Kerala and also in the UK, and it was quoted as one example of collaborative learning. So here I would like to say that now we are blessed with technology which can support us so well. Let us make use of that and go bring all these people into our studio and use the studio to co-generate and co-create. Our focus mostly has been only on maybe form, function, material, etc. But let us go beyond that and involve professionals and individuals from other disciplines to enhance our learning.
Thank you, ma'am. Very well replied. And if you have listened, madam, properly, then you can observe the thing that madam has given particular stress on the interaction. Because as we were discussing about the multidisciplinary approaches, in Sanskrit there is a saying, मुंडे मुंडे मति बिंडा तुंडे तुंडे सरस्वती. हर व्यक्ति के पास अलग ज्ञान है. आप जितना लोगों से मिलेंगे आपको ज्ञान की प्राप्ति हो. So very quickly I want to ask the same question with Professor Gode sir. What do you think about this multidisciplinary approach in architecture and planning? Very quickly, sir.
The disciplinary approach was always there in architectural education. It was very much part of architectural education. And if you really go through the way architecture was taught to us, and now even it is taught in a manner that we always talk about multiple disciplines. Like we have art in it, we have science in it. And recently I got one opportunity. Rohit sir. I was in Bhopal and UDC chairperson was there in Bhopal for some reason, and he was addressing all the head of the institutions. Professor Rao could not make on that particular day, and he gave the same example that recently I have met the Council of Architecture President Mr. Purohit, and they are doing it very well, and I think we should adopt it. So we had been doing this, and then even now there is a lot of emphasis on traditional knowledge system. And Professor Rao has given a very elaborated lecture on traditional knowledge. So here we need to understand there is something called technology. Now when we talk about traditional knowledge system, so we are learning about traditional knowledge by certain means. Now all these buildings were erected at one point of time. So we need to understand that what was the socio-cultural scenario of that particular time. What was the technology and knowledge which was available at that point of time. So one important thing which is very essential for us to understand is it is only not the knowledge, it is also the way knowledge was transferred to the craftsmen or the persons who are working there. Like how they learned that particular science, what was the influence of art and architecture on them at that point of time, and how it has transferred. Now there is one aspect which we should understand, and that is change. because change is the single most consistent factor in life. Change will happen. Now, when we talk about a particular technology, when we talk about how the multidisciplinary things have reflected on that piece of architecture or that piece of building, we should understand what was the time duration, what was the population at that point of time, what was the area which was covered, what was the area of influence. Now, we cannot replicate the same thing in today's context because we need to think rationally. Today the technology is different, today the scale is different, today the time scale is different. Like, one would take say 10 years to complete a particular building or even 100 of years. Can we think of completing a building in 100 years in today's scenario? No, it is not possible. Again, if you talk about the population, what was the population that was catered by the settlements or the buildings at that point of time, and what is the scale before us? So definitely we need to understand this rationally, and in understanding this rationally, we cannot overlook the advantages of technology. So as such, now what we need to do is we have to be more adaptive. We need to understand the new tools and new techniques, and as the professor has already said that our national education policy will allow us to have more and more multidisciplinary courses. And when we are talking about multidisciplinary, we should also think in terms of the computation technologies, the upcoming IoT, the upcoming digital technology, because until and unless we embrace the latest technologies which are available to us, we won't be able to apply them. So from multidisciplinary, what I understand is, yes, we have to be open, we have to keep ourselves open for, and this is what we are doing. Why we are reducing the number of credits? We are reducing the number of credits so that the students get more chance to explore what are the different things which are happening around us.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. And my next question is from Professor Bhote, sir. As I know him from 2010, almost 13 years span, and he is working on IKS, Indian Knowledge System also. So my next question is related to that only. In light of the historical bypassing of traditional building system, how can contemporary architecture education integrate traditional knowledge and practices to enrich our understanding and application of sustainable and contextually relevant design?
Actually, the most unfortunate part with respect to Indian knowledge system was that we never referred Indian knowledge system as Indian knowledge system. Like that knowledge system we have studied from a different perspective. I can share this with you. Till now, any presentation on temple architecture, the best presentation which I have seen or attended on temple architecture was by Adam Hardy. So it was almost like a musical performance. And he was able to, today Professor Rao also said that we have gharanas, we have different ragas, and he was able to make us visualize all those ragas and all those things which are very much encapsulated in our Indian buildings. So that was the unfortunate part, that we read Indian knowledge system from a very different perspective. So I think this is the right time where we should discover that what exactly were the concepts underlying this Indian knowledge system, and we need to understand the essence of that. And as I said, that there has to be rational. So if we really connect this thing scientifically to the need of that particular time, if you are able to reconstruct those things, those concepts on the basis of which this has been, so definitely it is going to help us. Because as sir has very correctly said that our future is rooted in our past.
Thank you, sir. So as we are running short of time, so I am going to ask our last question with Professor Agarwal, sir. So this is related to ethics and social responsibility. How can architecture education better instill a sense of ethics and social responsibility in students, emphasizing the role of architecture in social development and well-being?
Actually, the schools across India are providing this education to their students in a fantastic way. Well, let me tell you that. As the students also are greatly interested in this. So if you look at the exercises which are introduced at a NASA, which is close to the heart of the students, always, all the students, you will find out that it is finding out a room for the socially relevant sort of the projects coming. So where is the gap? The gap is not with the students. When they go out, the problem is with the way we are practicing our profession. I am very, very blunt about it. Wherever I go across assets, whenever this question comes, I say that the schools are taking adequate efforts to basically bring them at a plane. Many a times the students get actually spoiled. Spoiled is because that is a proper word. When they go for internship, because there where the architects who are practicing architects as such, they are using them as a cheap labor. And this nonsense I am not going to tolerate as a president. In another 6 months, I would absolutely come to a sort of a president. I have a very, very definite plan for this. When we talk about architecture as such, it talks about providing the proper services to the society. When you do not do research and development on your designs as such, it means that you are betraying the society. Why are they not capable of doing the research and the development? The reason is simple. They have entered into a rat race of actually the fees. They participate into tendering processes. Do you go to a heart surgeon who gives you L1 quotation? मेरे heart का surgery करना है, जरा आपका quotation भेज दो. There you would like to go to the best one. Do I go to a lawyer with a quotation? L1 जिसका होगा उसको मेरी केस दूंगा नहीं. हमें केस जीतना जरूरी है. Our profession has absolutely become arrogant. And I am very responsibly, I am an architect. I am responsibly putting this across. I have talked with the big offices as well as the small new startups as such, the good practices, and I have found out that those guys are really capable of giving good sort of the services to a society, and they are also paying their interns as well as the new entrants in a proper fashion because they are charging properly. That is a sustainable way of putting up the things. Majority of the architects are not doing that. That is resulting into inferior services. I am also going to come up with the audit of the projects. I am also coming up with accreditation of the architectural practices and the firms, voluntary. अगर आपको लगता है कि आपके प्रैक्टिस में दम है तो हमारे पास में आ जाए, हम सर्टिफाई करके देंगे. नहीं लगता है तो बैठे रहोगे, जो कर रहे हो करो. This would be a game changer, I am telling you. In 5 years time span, I am very, very sure everyone would like to work with somebody who is 5-star. No one wants to go for, because ये जमाना तो वही है ना, कौन सा मूवी है, अच्छा ये मूवी को कितने स्टार मिले, कौन सी आर्किटेक्चर प्रैक्टिस है, इसको कितने स्टार मिले. हाँ, that we would do in a very, very impartial fashion. Council itself would not do it, but council has started actually already deciding what the parameters would be getting done from the third party. A credible third party would be doing that, and that would be voluntary sort of thing. That would be a game changer. Okay, so this is students are responsible. Students are innocent. Students do a good job. Their projects, if you see, academic projects are fantastically well. Teachers are trying to tell them everything. They are going to the Mumbai, they are going to the Jhugri Jhopri, they are trying to document that, they are looking at. They are looking. They are also doing the green practices, they will try to incorporate that. They don't understand climatology, that also is being done as such. There are the softwares which are available, whereupon you can put up your buildings, that also they are doing. When they go to practice as such, they put up in the south, पूरा कांच का hall. इंडिया कंडीशंस इतना समझता नहीं है. अब तक जानते नहीं है जिस आर्किटेक्ट ने वो साउथ में वॉल बनाया होगा ना कांच का, उसकी प्रैक्टिस जो है बंद कर देनी चाहिए. This is what I believe in. Now, if they don't follow it as such, एक साल के लिए मैं उनका लाइसेंस जो है वो सस्पेंड कर दूंगा. They want to go to court, they can go. I don't mind. We have to behave right. See, we are becoming, I mean, the story of a Brahma Rakshasa. खुद के सर पे खुद हाथ रखने जा रहे हो और अपने आप को जला के राख कर दोगे. That should not happen. I think I have made my purpose clear.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. As we continue today's enriching discussion, I am reminded of the profound responsibility we carry as educators, practitioners, and stewards of the built environment. These insights shared by our distinguished panelists not only illuminated the path ahead, but also reinforced the importance of a continuous dialogue between traditional and innovation, between local wisdom and global challenges. Our journey through today's theme, reinventing pedagogy, embracing interdisciplinary approaches, and balancing the global with the local, underscore a collective commitment to nurturing an architecture education that is responsive, inclusive, and visionary. As we move forward, let us carry with the spirit of collaboration and curiosity, fostering an environment where learning and unlearning are embraced as integral to the architecture discourse. I extend my heartfelt thanks to our panelists for their invaluable contribution and to all of you for engaging this critical conversation. May we continue to reflect on our practice, challenges, our preconceptions, and inspire future generations to envision and create spaces that reflect the diversity, complexity, and beauty of human experience. Thank you, and let us look forward to shaping a future where architecture and urban studies not only respond to the needs of society, but actively contribute to a sustainable, equitable, and vibrant world. In the end, there is a prayer, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Paschantu, Ma Kashchit Dukha Bhave. Thank you. Thank you.
This is an announcement for all the participants. We are going to have a break for 20 minutes. You guys are requested to come back at 2:55 for the next seminar, that is Culture and Heritage. Thank you.